Casser-Jayne Show, talk radio for fine minds, airs Wednesdays, 3 p.m. Eastern, and is always available for your listening pleasure at HalliCasser-Jayne.com. Thank you so much for being here. I am Halli Casser-Jayne. Today on the Halli Casser-Jayne Show, joining me at my table, a true literary icon, that perennial New York Times bestseller, Anne Rice, the writer who single-handedly reinvented the vampire universe, beginning with the now iconic Interview with a Vampire. But before we begin, a brief message from our sponsors. You are listening to the Halli Casser-Jayne Show, talk radio for fine minds. The Halli Casser-Jayne Show is always available online at HalliCasser-Jayne.com and a host of venues, including Blog Talk Radio. And be sure to visit us at our newest home. Now we're on iHeartRadio. Today, the Halli Casser-Jayne Show is brought to you by Audible.com, a leading provider of spoken audio information and entertainment. Listen to audiobooks whenever and wherever you want. If you want to listen to it, Audible has it. With over 150,000 titles in virtually every genre, you'll find what you're looking for. Get a free audiobook and 30-day trial today by signing up at www.audibletrial.com/The Halli Casser-Jayne Show.
Is someone you love living with frequent pain? Are they spending more time just sitting in a chair or lying in bed or going to the ER more often? Other than taking them to the doctor, you may not know what else to do. Treasure Coast Hospice can help in more ways than you may realize. Even if you don't think your loved one is ready for hospice care, their experts can evaluate your loved one's condition and direct you to the right resources in our community. Call Treasure Coast Hospice to learn more or visit tchospice.org.
Hello, I'm Halli Casser-Jayne, host of the Halli Casser-Jayne Show. Join me Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern when I talk with the great artists, writers, musicians, politicians, and celebrities of our day. The Halli Casser-Jayne Show is talk radio for fine minds. Tune in live or listen to the podcast at HalliCasser-Jayne.com. Before there was the Twilight Saga, there was Anne Rice, the author of 32 novels. In the literary world, Anne Rice is a force to be reckoned with. Her first novel, Interview with a Vampire, published in 1976, has gone on to become one of the best-selling novels of all time. She continued her saga of the Vampire Lestat in a series of books collectively known as the Vampire Chronicles. Interview with the Vampire was made into a motion picture in 1994, directed by Neil Jordan and starring Brad Pitt, Tom Cruise, Kirsten Dunst, and Antonio Banderas. Some of her other titles include The Vampire Lestat and The Queen of the Damned. Born and raised in New Orleans, the backdrop for many of her stories, Rice holds a Master of Arts degree in English and Creative Writing from San Francisco State University, as well as a bachelor's degree in Political Science. The gift that keeps on giving to her many fans, Rice is out with a new and exhilarating novel that deepens Rice's vampire mythology and gives us a chillingly hypnotic, rich mystery thriller in Prince Lestat, the long-awaited return to the all-encompassing realm of the Vampire Chronicles. All right, let me tell you, you're a trip. I love researching you. Phenomenal.
Really?
I do.
Really?
I did.
Okay.
You're my kind of lady. That's all I have to say. So, talk to me about
you.
You're quite welcome. You're bringing back Prince Lestat. You know what I'm saying? Is that like getting back into bed with an old lover, familiar territory? You know, how to get your his juices flowing and he gets yours flowing. Is that what it's like when you return to a character?
Well, yeah. I mean, Lestat, I don't feel the same way about any character I ever wrote about the way I feel about Lestat. I mean, I love Lestat. He's me. We're together, yet he's not me. He's everything I'd like to be, and then I'm not, And I adore being back with him. I am so excited. I wish I was home now at my keyboard writing the next novel after Prince Lestat. I mean, it's exploding in my brain, and I'm just dying to get into it. I really, I'm so happy to have him back.
What is it about him? What turns you on about him?
I don't know. I've always let him just go. He was kind of born out of the corner of my eye. I was writing Interview with the Vampire. Louis was the hero. Lestat was the villain, more or less. And for some reason, his character just came together and developed kind of almost gloriously for me. And when I finished the book, I thought, it would be awfully much fun to tell the whole thing from Lestat's point of view. And, of course, I didn't do anything about that for 8 or 9 years. But then I wrote The Vampire Lestat, and he really launched the Vampire Chronicles. It wasn't born as a series with the first book. It was born with the second.
Is he like the man of your dreams? You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's the man of my dreams. My husband, whom I loved totally for 41 years, he kind of provided the impetus for Lestat. But Lestat became a real fictional character. But Stan was the platform. That's where it began.
We're going to talk about him in a bit. Here's a word you threw out in the interview that I came across, a word that I had never heard before. I love this word, paracosm, right?
Caritas, yeah.
I love that word. Did you love that word when you found it?
Oh, I love words, period. They're like gems to me, collecting all kinds of different words. And Sagung, that's a great word, the German word for acceptance of our limitations.
What's that word?
Gravitas, for our seriousness. I love a lot of
You're a word
words.
lady for sure. Talk to me about the depth of your imagination and the other world you created and have kept going for almost 40 years. It may be over 40 years now. I mean, where that imagination? Where do some people have it?
I think it's almost like some kind of something wrong in the brain. There are people who are born who can make dream worlds, and I've had a personal dream world since I was a little girl. A whole bunch of characters that live in a country that doesn't exist, and I can't tell you how developed it is. Well, the Vampire Chronicles are another dream world that I have, and I don't think people like me, I don't think we can stop our brains from doing this. We're world builders. Maybe we're one step from completely being insane.
Well, I don't think that's true at all. I think what you are is probably in a place where most people wish they could get to as well as you get to it. It's interesting to me. I mean, fantasy writers, first of all, they're a breed unto themselves.
Right.
I'm talking to you as the child that you were. Happier in your imagination from the beginning because of you didn't grow up under the best of circumstances, poor and alcoholic mother. Oh, is that what maybe helps build it, create it, or is it a gene?
Yeah, I certainly think that helps. I mean, I think that we know that children who grow up with a lot going on often do have a dream world in which they take refuge. They do have imaginary friends. They have a paracosm, a world that they make up and in which they live, and that certainly happened with me. But there are many people who go through rough childhoods and they don't have that. So I really don't know exactly why some of us do and some of us don't.
It's a fascinating aspect of development of the brain. Talk to me about Mama Allen.
Oh, Mama Allen, that was my grandmother, and she was the security in the house when I was growing up. She was the matriarch. She was wonderful. I didn't grow up knowing my dad. He had gone to war, or he never went overseas, but he had gone into the Navy, and he didn't come home till I was about 4 years old. So it was Mama Allen and my mother. They were the ones who ran the house. They were the house. They were the home, the hearth, the warmth, everything. And Mama Allen was one of those super capable women who could handle everything domestically, and she did it as if it didn't take any effort at all. And you always knew she was there. She was in the kitchen. She almost never went out, actually.
She sounds fascinating, and she sounds like there's a good part of you that is her. What do you think?
Well, I certainly admired her. I admired her strength. I really did. I thought she was wonderful. And she was very gentle with children. She was so sweet and so gentle and always sort of inviting us to do the work and inviting us to participate. Like, come, let's sweep the front walk. Come, let's do this. Let's straighten up the dining room. Come, let's put these things away. And you always felt, glad to join in and help. She made it like a game.
Yeah, she sounds
great.
Like somebody I wish I had known. You were destined to become grand. I mean, it's in your name, in your birth name, Howard Allen Francis O'Brien. I have to tell you about this because I was going to be a Howard if I was a boy, but I became Halli. And all of my life, when I was growing up, that was a tough name to have. There was no such thing as a Halli. Like there was no such thing as a girl named Howard, if you will, right?
Yeah.
It does something to you.
Well, it did something to me to be called Howard when I was a little girl. I certainly didn't like it. I mean, the kids on the block said, that's not a girl's name. What do you mean your name is Howard? And I had plenty enough of that from people that I got really fed up with it. In the first grade, when the sister asked me what my name was, I said it was Ann. I made it up right there on the spot. And, of course, my mother, being the same crazy person that named me Howard, said, well, if she wants her name to be Ann, let her be Ann. That's fine.
That's interesting. First of all, it tells me you wanted to be ordinary. How'd that go, kiddo?
Well, I didn't want to be ordinary maybe, but I wanted to be more accepted. I didn't want to be a freak. Being ordinary maybe wasn't the thing, but I wanted to have a chance, I thought, to make it my own way, not to have my name making it for me. And Ann is a relatively plain name. So I was very happy with it, and it stuck, and I'm Ann. That's who I've always been.
And you're Ann. I'll share with you that my mother always says, because I have kind of a crazy life, not 2.2 children, a Ford, a station wagon, whatever, and I've been running around the world, and she says, what? Why don't you just get married? She's a nice Jewish mother. And I say to her, why did you name me Halli? What did you expect, right? It's true.
Exactly.
In some ways, your early life was its own Gothic novel. When you were 15 years old, your mom succumbed to her alcoholism. And soon afterward, you and your sisters, I think, were replaced by your father or somebody. I guess it was in St. Joseph's Academy, which you described as something out of Jane Eyre, a dilapidated, awful, medieval type of place. I really hated it and wanted to leave. I felt betrayed by my dad. I bring this up because I wonder that had none of this happened to you, if what you bring to your writing would have been possible. You've seen the dark, you've seen the light, and that plays out in your books, no?
Well, yeah, I think one of the great things about being a writer or an artist of any kind is that you can take the pain and you can turn it into something golden in your work. You always have that option to redeem whatever's happened to you by making something out of it in your novel or in your art or whatever you do creatively. And that's a wonderful thing. And the dangerous thing about all this is that a rough childhood, a lot of pain, a lot of stress, it can destroy you. But if it doesn't destroy you, yes, it makes you strong. And if you're an artist, it sometimes makes you a better artist.
So why did it not destroy you?
I don't know. I don't think it ever even came near destroying me, but I really don't know. When I think back on my childhood, there were many moments when I took a lot of risks, but things worked out. I had a lot of self-confidence. My mother had given me that self-confidence. She raised all of her 4 daughters to believe in themselves and to believe they could do anything that they wanted to do. She was very advanced to that period in having great confidence in women and men, and she certainly didn't try to make little Southern girls of us, little Southern cliches, not at all. At the same time, she was intensely religious, and she brought us up as Catholics. And I don't know, she had a great sense of humor, great love of literature herself. I think she encouraged us in all our artistic pursuits. So I don't know where the balance lay. I don't know where, I just don't know. My oldest sister, Alice, she had a very rough time, too. She ended up writing 6, 7 novels before she died, and they're still for sale on Amazon, and her readers write to me all the time. So we got through it. We got through it. We got through it, and I think we have happy memories. I certainly have happy memories,
Here's one of the reasons you fascinate me. It's your mind. I love your mind. You don't take anything at face value. I mean, absolutely nothing, Ann. So, and you've been public about that. So let's take a look at religion for a second, Catholicism. You've talked about this faith journey you've been on, including your atheism, becoming a Christian, maybe not. Writing of vampires, talk to me, in the other world, the mythology, is that an attempt to understand the source, a desire maybe to comprehend this good versus evil, the light?
Yeah, I think so, sure. I think speculative fiction, the kind of fiction where you go into your alternative reality in your own world and you write a lot about good and evil, meaning, meaninglessness, all of that. Yes, that's kind of religious fiction. It's science fiction, fantasy. These are perfect genres, really, for people who want to talk a lot about those problems. And I've been searching all my life for meaning. I've been, pondering questions since I was a little kid, and I love pondering them through the voices of my characters. I enjoy that a lot. And I remember one of the first signings I ever had at a science fiction bookstore. I was amazed at how those readers in particular got what I was talking about when it came to good and evil and religion. They really liked that aspect of the vampire novel that I had written, and I was so thrilled. So I feel real comfortable in that world. Yeah, and it is all about religion in a way. It really is.
You are listening to the Halli Casser-Jayne Show, talk radio for fine minds. I'm speaking today with author Anne Rice. Yeah, for sure. Darkness, erotica, weirdness, violence, a part of all of us, a part of you, a part of religion. Let me take you here. Something we don't like to discuss as human beings. And yet you have sold over 100 million copies of your books that travel into this very realm that people generally wish to discuss. So surely that says something about the collective consciousness. Have you thought about that?
Well, I've heard that concept, our collective consciousness, and I've read a little bit of Jung, not very much, but I'm interested in all that. I tell you the truth, when I get at the keyboard, I go into my own world, and I go where it takes me. I trust my instincts, I trust my subconscious, I trust the feeling of authenticity as I write, and I go some pretty strange places.
But I'll bet you have a lot of fun doing it or you wouldn't do it, right?
Oh, totally, totally. I mean, I loved writing erotica, creating a virtual pornotopia, you know, in which my characters could live their erotic existence. I loved that. I feel sometimes that if I'm remembered, you know, decades after I'm gone, it might be more for my erotica than anything else.
I have to share with you a very funny story. I had Dave Barry on the show, and he was here. He's always here, but he was here last week, and we were talking, and he has a new book out, and he says to me he doesn't understand the phenomenon of 50 Shades of Grey, right? Mm-hmm. He goes through, you would have been on the floor from this. He says to me, success completely baffles me. And then he goes through this whole riff. What is going on with women? Why would they want to read a story about a woman who likes getting hurt? To read a book about darkness and erotica and weirdness and violence. I mean, you have to hear it. It's hilarious. So I have to ask you what you think the audience is looking for and in all of that and what it is you're trying to give them.
Oh, I think everybody. Well, let's not say everybody, but let's say many, many, many people enjoy fantasies of domination and submission. If you go and look at Nancy Friday's books, where she invited people to write her letters about their intimate fantasies, many men and women talked about dreaming they were dominated or that they were dominating. They love that kind of fantasy. And again, we've known that men enjoyed this sort of thing for years because prostitutes tell us that they do. That men, very rich, powerful men, come to houses of prostitution and ask prostitutes to whip them or beat them, tie them up, dominate them, etc. They love it. Well, the only thing that's changed in recent years is women are out of the closet about enjoying it too. And, you know, they too like such fantasies. They've always had to hide before the present time. You know, you remember women's romances and women's gothics, those bodice ripper novels that always had the same cover, basically. A pirate, you know, grabbing a woman and literally ripping open her bodice, etc. Or a woman fleeing from a dark house and in the background there was a light in the window, etc. I mean, a lot of that was erotica in disguise. It was domination and submission, and it was disguised, and women had to put up with all that to get a few hot pages of real erotic sex that they enjoyed. Well, I set out to write an erotica for them where every page was hot. They didn't have to, you know, wade through a whole lot about a pirate first. I went right to it with the Prince and Sleeping Beauty, and right to the fantasies and you know, coercion fantasies, and making them as sensuous and delicious as I possibly could.
And boy, do you. But do you have to live it to write it?
No, I don't think you have to live it. You just have to imagine it. I mean, most of the time when people write to me about it, they are not living those fantasies. They just say, I've always had these fantasies, and I thought I was crazy till I read your books. And now I know other people have them too. I don't think most of us really want to live them. I do know some people that do S&M. You know, they're into it. They're into safe S&M. And they're very interesting people. They're very brave people in a lot of ways. But for most of us, it's the fantasy, and it's really the fantasy that I'm celebrating.
So you have anything that you want to say directly to Dave?
Well, it's a common fantasy. It's something many human beings share. It's very much part of our erotic makeup as human beings. It really is.
I'll send that his way. You're a cult hero. You're a star. And there are so many who would like to walk in your shoes. But is stardom always a good thing? When you started writing all those years ago, getting back to the imagination, could you ever have imagined reaching the heights that you have?
Well, I certainly didn't know how it was all going to turn out. I wanted to be read, and I dreaded being ignored. I dreaded being a small, insignificant writer, but I knew that was the danger, that's how most of the writers I knew wound up, basically. But no, I had no idea how it was going to turn out. I really didn't. It's been a wonderful adventure, the whole thing.
And a good adventure.
Oh, yeah, overwhelmingly good. Overwhelmingly good, yeah.
And this crossed my mind. I wonder how all the attention, the interest in your characters and work has affected the writing. I mean, young writers start out kind of innocent in their writing, and they just go at it. What happens when you're no longer the neophyte? Does it get more difficult or easier or something else?
Yes, I think it gets difficult. I think you have to be very careful. You have to realize that regardless of what people are saying to you, what they really want from you is that you write the best book that you can write. That's what they really want. And they may not know specifically how you're going to do that. So they may come up to you and make some very rough critical comments, or they can say wonderfully generous things. You've got to sort of go back into yourself before you write and say, look, I've got to do what I think is really the best thing here. I've got to write the book that I believe is the best book. And that takes some doing. You know, you have to respect the voices, respond to the voices, but also be able to shut the voices out from time to time.
You have the best fans. Oh, my God, you have the best fans. They engage. I mean, in a way that I have never seen. Your Facebook page is a trip. Talk to me about what they bring to you and what they mean to you. And have they changed over the years? Have they changed you?
No, I don't think they've changed. I mean, from the very beginning, they're pretty much the same kind of people. They're romantics. They're often writers and poets themselves. Sometimes dancers, sometimes painters. A lot of people in the creative arts. A lot of people that are just simply readers. They love the imaginative world of the books. They haven't really changed, but you are so right that they are wonderful. I mean, they're incredible. They're really incredible, and on the Facebook page, I can ask them the most direct questions, and they give me hundreds and hundreds of answers within minutes. And it's just invaluable feedback. I asked this morning, I said, try to tell, very briefly, what's your favorite part of Prince Lestat, the new book. Try to do this in a very concise way without spoilers. And they gave me hundreds of invaluable answers about the characters they liked and the scenes they liked. It's just priceless. It's priceless to get that kind of feedback.
And instant. That's even better, right?
Yeah.
That's a whole new changed world. Can I talk about something completely ridiculous?
Sure.
I love your clothes, and I love your jewelry.
My clothes.
I love your clothes. You were wearing something I saw you on an interview the other day, cameo. Give me a break.
Oh, yeah.
Where is this your thing? Is this your other creative aspect? You just love clothes and you love jewelry and you love to put it all together. And God, you're stunning.
Well, actually, my clothes are very simple. I wear pretty much the same thing all the time,
color.
everywhere, and I wear very inexpensive clothes, basically. Very simple, formless, sort of black clothes. And the basis of it all is a turtleneck. You know, I wear cotton turtlenecks made by Land's End. It's a company that makes them about $18 a piece, and I've been wearing those for years everywhere. If I ever get nominated for the Academy Award, I'll wear a black turtleneck under my sequin jacket. You know, that'll be my blouse or whatever. But I do collect cameos, and I do have a very talented jeweler lady who makes beautiful collars for me on which she mounts the cameos. And she makes lovely necklaces for me. And so I really wear fairly simple stuff. And a lot of it's from Land's End and J. Jill, very simple. Black velvet skirts to the ground, very simple, stretchy velvet. And then I wear these collars that Sally Lanovich has made for me. And I do buy new cameos to celebrate various things. And I have a nice collection of very large cameos.
It's a fabulous look. It's just a fabulous look. We touch on the fact that life hasn't always been easy for you. You lost your mother to alcoholism. Your father abandoned you. You lost your daughter, oh, my God, at 5 to leukemia. you lost your beloved husband to brain cancer when he was only 60. And you've had some scary stuff go on with your health as well lately. But you seem to be bounced back, as you seem to always do. How do you balance the yins and the yangs of your life, enduring so many highs, so extraordinary highs, and such lows can make a person insane? But why is Anne keep going?
I don't think I strive for balance. I just strive to get through it. I embrace intensity. I really do. And I think part of life is that we lose people. We lose people we love. And watching someone you love die, losing that person, is devastating. It's probably the only supernatural thing we ever witness when we see life go out of the body forever of someone that we've loved and known. And I don't try to shy away from it or repress it or ignore it or flee from it. I kind of believe grief is like a river, and it's going to flow and it's going to find the sea, and there's no stopping it. And if you try to dam up grief, if you try to deny it, you're going to drown. You know, you have to let it go. And so I don't strive for balance so much as just intensity. I try to turn grief into writing, and I think I've done that from the start. I think the best writing I've done has been writing that's been done during periods of grief or facing grief, looking right in the face of a loss. I don't know any other way to do it.
Like I said, my kind of lady. You recently sold the film rights to the entire Vampire Chronicles series, which includes Prince Lestat. How are you feeling about that? I mean, you've had some dicey forays into film. Is there a certain letting go you're going to have to do with this? Or is it take the money and run, or are you going to keep a tight grip on the product they produce?
Well, with Hollywood, it's always take the money, and you may have to run, because it's really impossible to get contracts where you control a movie. You know, the readers are always saying keep control, but that's a myth. There's no control. Nobody's going to pay you and then make a $100 million movie based on your book and let you control it. They're just not going to do that. The studio controls it. The director, the producers, the big money. And what I'm going to try to do is just talk to them and be with them and let them know what I think the readers want and what I think the characters are all about. That's about the best thing you can do in these situations. And we do have some wonderful producers involved on this, Brian Grazier and Erica Huggins of Imagine Entertainment. I think they really want to make great films. And we are going to be having a lot of creative talks. I want them to consult. I don't have any power, but I want them to consult. And I want my feedback to be part of what they get free for buying the rights. And I think I'm just going to do my best with that, to talk to them about everything, every script, every choice, and see what happens. I think it may work out very well. I think that in the last 10 years, Hollywood has seen a lot of very successful movies that have been very faithful to the underlying books. And they're getting the message that if you want that fan base to be the first big word of mouth on the movie, respect that fan base.
Point well made. Wonderful point that you just made, as a matter of fact. You know, Anne, you've achieved this extraordinary success we've been talking about. I don't use that word lightly with you, for sure. Another new book with Prince Lestat. You're what, just turned 73, I think? Mm-hmm. You don't mind my saying?
73. Not at all. I'm amazed. I mean, I never thought about being 73, but here I am.
Yeah, right? I bet you feel just as good as you always did. But you just sold, the films that we were just talking about, and you're financially comfortable. So the truth is, you could sit back, my friend, and just relax in your digs at Rancho Mirage and have at it, and here you are doing another grueling book tour to promote Prince Lestat. Talk to me. I mean, is it like this is just not a gal who's ever going to sit back and retire?
Well, I've never managed my money in a way that would allow me to retire. I've been very blessed, and I've made a lot of money, and I've spent a lot of money, and I've spread a lot of money around, and I enjoy it. I can't imagine wanting to retire. I mean, writing is my life. I've got so many ideas right now. I want to go home and get into that next book about Lestat. I'm just burning up with ideas. I don't know. Now, if I won the lottery tomorrow and won $1 billion, I mean, maybe it would be tempting to lay off for a year or something. But I don't plan or live in such a way that retirement is an option. I never have, actually. I just don't know how to do that. I mean, my first impulse on getting a check is, well, gee, maybe we can go to Europe on this one. Maybe we can go to England for a couple of weeks, That would really be neat. So I'm always thinking, I'm still living paycheck to paycheck like I did 40 years ago.
Seriously, that's wild.
Well, sure. But, I mean, I have nothing to complain about. I mean, I do well. There's no question. I am very comfortable. And I've been very blessed. And I get a great income from books. And, but I've never I've never thought of retirement as something. Retirement is wonderful for people who haven't been able to do what they love. And then they retire and they can. But I've been doing what I love since 1972, writing books.
Right. It wouldn't be retirement. It would be something awful.
Yeah,
right.
Sure. Why would I stop doing what I love?
Right. So listen, after these 73 years, you're still beautiful, healthy, thin, a literary force to be reckoned with. Ever think of finding yourself a new prince?
No. I've had a great love in my life. My husband, Stan, was the love of my life, 41 years, stormy, wonderful, wonderful love affair. I have not really thought too much about anything else.
You're still pretty, though. You could find your guy if you chose to. Listen to me. What can I say except, lady, what a life. When you go to bed at night, do you thank God, a higher power, your mom, your dad, your son, your late husband, or do you simply thank your lucky stars? Talk to me.
I thank God. I thank a higher power. I thank God. I talk to God all day long. I offer thanks for everything, the beauty of the sky, the green grass outside my window, the olive tree, the flowers. I'm sort of stoned on the beauty of life, and I thank God every minute. Prayers of gratitude just flow out of me day in and day out. I mean, the beauty of this world and the good things that God has given me, I don't know, they're the most inspiring things that I see. I mean, when I hear great music and I see something beautiful, a beautiful day, a beautiful moment, those things speak to me of the immortal, of what's beyond us all, of God himself, the maker.
I've been speaking with Anne Rice, one of the goddesses of literature and a force to be reckoned with. Her latest hypnotic offering is Prince Lestat, by way of Alfred A. Knopf. For more information on Miss Rice, visit her website at annerice.com. Before I go, I want to remind everyone that podcasts of current and past shows are always available to listen to free on iTunes under the Halli Casser-Jayne Show. The Halli Casser-Jayne Show is also available for download via Spreaker.com, Stitcher.com, BlogTalkRadio.com, and a host of other venues. Google the Halli Casser-Jayne Show, and you will find us. Of course, podcasts of our shows, both past and present, are always posted for your listening pleasure at HalliCasser-Jayne.com, which I hope you'll visit often for the latest information on our upcoming segments. Oh, and while you're at HalliCasser-Jayne.com, don't forget to visit my blog to read my latest musings. I'll be back next week, same time, 3 p.m. Eastern, for another edition of the Halli Casser-Jayne Show, Talk Radio for Fine Minds, brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download at www.audibletrial.com/The Halli Casser-Jayne Show. Audible.com features over 100,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. Stay in touch, won't you? Remember, that's HalliCasser-Jayne.com. Discover us on Facebook at Halli Casser-Jayne and on Twitter at HallieCJ. I love to hear from you. So, till we meet again, this is Halli Casser-Jayne. It's a wrap.